trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Combs. This trial marks the first time the former couple is seeing each other since their split 6 years ago. Ventura, who is 8 months pregnant, was said to be rubbing her belly while wiping away tears as she detailed, as she put it, she adored while dating Combs for a decade. You're watching Crime. I'm your host, Kennedy Walker, and I'll walk you through the details. Cassie Ventura has spent the last 2 days in a New York courtroom testifying against her ex-boyfriend, music mogul Sean Combs, known as Diddy. Federal prosecutors claim Combs used threats, drugs, lies, and violence to coerce Ventura to sexual encounters with male prostitutes. Ventura testified that she participated in these freak-offs parties because she feared Combs and wanted to make him happy, but felt disgusting and worthless because she didn't want to do it. She told the jury that the hip-hop star would, quote, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down. And that wasn't all. The testimony was extremely graphic. Ventura walked us through years of alleged physical abuse and sexual humiliation that she says she could not escape. She said she was 22 years old when Combs first proposed the drug-fueled sex parties, and they allegedly became weekly occurrences, reportedly happening in hotel rooms in New York City, Atlanta, Los Angeles, Miami, Turks and Caicos, and Ibiza. She stayed awake by taking drugs that she says Combs gave her, including cocaine, Molly, and ecstasy. Ventura said the freak-offs typically lasted between 36 to 72 hours, the longest one lasting 4 days, and that the frequent sex would often leave her ill and cause her to have constant urinary tract infections. At one point, Ventura told the jury about one freak-off where Diddy allegedly told her to get into an inflatable pool filled with baby oil and lube. Court transcriptions obtained by Law and Crime show the prosecutor asked, "Who, if anyone, asked you to get into the pool?" Ventura responded, "Sean, it was his idea." The prosecutor asked, "Did you want to get into a pool of baby oil?" Ventura responds, "At that point, I couldn't say no. It would have been all bad." After an objection, the prosecutor then asks, "What concerns did you have about not getting into the pool with baby oil?" Ventura responds, "That, amongst other things, just his temper. If that is something that he wanted, Sean wanted it to happen, that's what was going to happen. There wasn't another way around it." Ventura claimed Diddy controlled all aspects of the freak-offs, from directing her to find escorts, sometimes through Craigslist, the lighting in the room, to her nails having to be painted white, and what she wore. Everything, according to Ventura, had to go through Combs. He also filmed them. She claimed that when she would make him upset, he would threaten to release the footage. During that time, she says she took drugs to help her disassociate because she felt disgusting and humiliated, like when she said Combs or male escorts would urinate on her. The prosecutor said, "Did you want Sean or an escort to urinate on you?" Ventura responded, "No." The prosecutor then asked, "And before that happened, what, if anything, did you discuss about being urinated on?" Ventura said there was no conversation, it was just a turn-on for him. Ventura testified that after sex acts with escorts concluded, Diddy would sometimes request that the escort's semen be, quote, put on his body in the next room. She was expected, she says, to have sex during her period and testified Diddy frequently got physically abusive. One of those times was caught on camera in this now infamous CNN exclusive video of Combs beating Ventura in 2016. Ventura said she was in a freak-off with Diddy and an escort, and it was a couple days before her first big movie premiere. She claims she tried to escape while Combs was in the shower, but he caught her before she could leave, kicking her and giving her a black eye. The prosecutor said, "How many times had Sean thrown you to the ground like that before?" Ventura responded, "Too many to count. I don't know." Combs denies all allegations. If convicted on all counts, he could face up to life in prison. Since his 2024 arrest, he has been held at the Metropolitan Detention Complex in Brooklyn. And joining me to talk more about this is former prosecutor Melba Pearson. Melba, thank you so much for coming on today. I don't even know where to start with this. You're a former prosecutor, so if you could just explain, how do you think the prosecution is doing so far?
Well, first of all, always great to be on with you, Kennedy. And I think they've really started off with the primacy and recency theory, which I'm a big fan of. It's always start with your strongest witness, and end with a strong witness and bury kind of the details in the middle, right? Because that's what the jury remembers. And so they've started off strong. First of all, authenticating that video with the security guard talking about what he saw and the fact that Diddy paid him and all of that. So we know that this is a real video. It wasn't altered, nothing like that. And then Cassie now gone on to talk about the context behind the video, what led up to it, and how that fit into the scheme of their relationship and the level of abuse that she suffered and endured through that whole time. So they've really done a great job with that. I'm very curious to hear from the other survivors. I know there's one is questionable whether or not she's going to testify, but the other, the one that goes by the pseudonym of Mia, should be up on the stand sometime this week. So I'm very interested to see what she has to say and how that also fits in to the wider scheme of Diddy using his power and influence to intimidate and hurt people.
I want to thank Odoo for sponsoring this news package. Odoo is an incredible all-in-one business management software that provides you with a range of applications. One of my favorite Odoo applications is their sales tool. The Kanban pipeline is a game changer. Whether you're working with leads or full-blown opportunities, you can visually track every stage of your sales process. Just drag and drop to move deals forward. It's fast and honestly kind of satisfying. When it's time to send a quote, it's literally a couple clicks, and the reporting is super clear. You get a live view of your pipeline, conversions, and what's working, so you can focus on closing, not guessing. So right now, you can get a free 15-day trial of Odoo's all-in-one business solution and see how it can make your life easier. Check it out at www.odoo.com/lcnewscrm. And just speaking of that video, very, very sad, just being able to see that and seeing Diddy, watching it firsthand, kicking and punching Cassie Ventura. Also, the defense, they're trying to make it seem like that this video just shows that there's domestic violence, and they're saying that they, are not disputing that there was domestic violence in the relationship, but it has nothing to do with the charges that Sean Combs is being charged with. But Cassie, she took the stand saying that incident happened right after a freak off, or she was trying to escape when Sean Combs was in the shower. What do you think about that?
So the defense is going to do and work with whatever they can. They have a damning video. There's no way for folks to unsee it. We all saw it, and we all know what it is, and that's why he had to come out, he being Diddy, had to come out and issue an apology and say that I'm a better person and all of this, right? But what's very critical here is not just the domestic violence, but the aspect of coercion, because coercion is part of domestic violence from the standpoint of you feel that you have to do certain things to keep the peace, to avoid getting a beating, to avoid people you love being harmed, that sort of thing. And so that coercion is going to play a very critical role in terms of the trafficking aspect, because if she felt coerced, that had to go along with these freak-offs and that she had to travel to all these destinations to do it, that speaks directly to the charge of transportation for purposes of prostitution as well as, sex trafficking. So not domestic violence in a vacuum, it's almost domestic violence as a tool to be able to accomplish these disgusting crimes that Diddy is accused of committing.
And Ms. Ventura has said multiple times that she feared Mr. Combs, afraid to say no. But even then, could the defense press her and say that she was in a relationship with Mr. Combs for more than a decade, and she had the ability to leave, she had the ability to run? Why didn't she? How could they argue that? How could Ms. Ventura argue that?
Well, of course, the defense is going to pose all of those questions, but again, it comes back to the whole concept of domestic violence. And unless, God forbid, you've been in that kind of relationship, or someone or someone you're close to was in that type of relationship, showed up at her apartment banging down the door. So again, it's not like she didn't try to